cinematic universe. And through a succession of peer pressure and online enablement, I'm going to do that anyway. So next month marks a major motion picture event with the launch of Avengers Endgame. Some of you might be quite excited about that. Some of you might have only seen the odd Iron Man movie on a plane and be confused about the details. Some people have asked me whether it's even possible to catch up because there have been 21 Marvel movies to date. But good news, it is possible. I'm going to do it right now in a lightning talk. I'm calling everything you need to know about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, before Avengers Endgame, and more importantly, why you should care. Are you ready? Let's go. The Marvel Cinematic Universe rolls out in 3 phases. In phase 1, we meet most of the Avengers, starting with this guy, Tony Stark. He's basically Elon Musk. He's a billionaire. He invents technology. He's a weapons manufacturer. He gets kidnapped by terrorists, gets some shrapnel that's headed towards his heart, so he implants an electromagnet in his chest to stop that. It's powered by an arc reactor, which conveniently also powers this fancy robot suit he makes for himself, and now he's Iron Man. This is Pepper Potts. She's his assistant. She gets promoted to CEO because workplace romances are cool, and no one understands why she puts up with him. This is his friend Rhodey. He also has a robot suit. He's still in the military. When he wears it, he's called War Machine. And at the end of that first movie, after the credits, because Marvel hides all the good stuff after the credits, which is why when you're trying to leave the movie and tripping over the empty popcorn buckets, there's still people sitting in their seats, you meet this guy. He's Nick Fury. He's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a shadowy organization of mostly good guys. He turns up in Tony's office and says, hey, I'm putting a team together, and I'm going to call them the Avengers. Then we have a bunch of movies no one needs to see, in which we meet Bruce Banner. He's been exposed to some gamma radiation, and so when he rages up, he turns into the Hulk occasionally. We meet Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow. She's a Soviet-trained assassin. She's turned good. She should have had her own movie by now, but hasn't because of the patriarchy. And then we go off into space. We go to Asgard, where we meet Thor, who is the god of thunder, and he's the heir to the throne of Asgard, and he has a magic hammer. This is his brother Loki. He's the god of mischief. He's a magician and can also shapeshift. In the first Thor movie, they've really managed to piss off their dad. So Thor gets banished by Odin to Earth and loses his magic hammer until he can learn his lesson. And Loki discovers that he's actually not Thor's brother at all because Odin stole him from their enemies as a baby. So he's really pissed off that he's been lied to his whole life and he's feeling pretty betrayed and mad about it. Then we go back to Earth and back in time to the 1940s, where some actual Nazis are messing around with this fancy blue cube, which we call the Tesseract. It's going to be important. We're going to come back to it later. Steve Rogers is a scrawny kid in Brooklyn, and he just wants to serve in the army with his best friend and the love of his life, Bucky Barnes. But he's too small, so he lets the US Army inject him with some super serum to turn him into a super soldier, and that's how he becomes Captain America. So Captain America goes on an unsanctioned mission to rescue the love of his life, Bucky Barnes, from some Nazis. That mission's a success. The movie would have you believe he falls in love with a woman called Peggy Carter, but that's straight up bullshit because Steve Rogers didn't get injected with some super serum and kill some Nazis to rescue his boyfriend to have his love story erased like that. So Captain America and Bucky Barnes and the Howling Commandos go on a bunch of missions and they kill a bunch of Nazis, and then Bucky straight up dies, falls off a train into a ravine. So Captain America crashes a plane full of bombs into the Arctic. Mostly to save humanity, but also because he has nothing left to live for because his boyfriend is dead. Then, in the present day, S.H.I.E.L.D. digs Captain America's plane out of the ice, defrosts him, he's still alive because of the serum, and Nick Fury says, hey, do you want to be an Avenger? Meanwhile, Loki comes back to Earth. He's got this cool mind control scepter, and he's wreaking havoc because he's still really pissed off about the whole being lied to his whole life thing. So, Nick Fury gets together Thor and Black Widow and Captain America and Iron Man and Hulk and this other guy, Hawkeye, who's a sniper who uses bow and arrow for reasons. And they manage to defeat Loki and also destroy most of New York in the process. After the credits, where the good stuff happens, we meet Thanos. He's the big bad alien who's behind all the big bad alien attacks. And that's the end of phase 1, 6 movies down. Don't worry, it gets faster from here. In phase 2, we start to care more about these Infinity Stones. We already know the blue one, the Tesseract, that's called the Soul Stone. Thor took that back to Asgard to keep it safe when he went to put Loki in jail. In Thor the Dark World, we meet the Reality Stone, which is the red one. Thor and Loki reunite in order to avenge the death of their mother. And at the end of that movie, Loki dies, except not really, which is a bit of a theme in these movies. Remember how Captain America got frozen in World War II and then defrosted in the present day? Turns out, so did his boyfriend. Except now he's a brainwashed super assassin called the Winter Soldier. He's also had some serum, he's got a cool robot arm, but he doesn't remember who Steve is. Steve has a new friend. He's called Sam Wilson. He's a military vet and has a fancy flying suit, and when he's wearing it, he's called the Falcon. Then we head back into space and we hang out with some space hustlers called the Guardians of the Galaxy. The green one, Gamora, turns out she and her blue sister Nebula are Thanos' adopted children, but it's okay, they hate their dad as much as we do. Now, remember the stones. The Guardians of the Galaxy come across a third stone, the purple one, the Power Stone. So now we know where 3 of the stones are. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the Avengers have run up against Wanda Maximoff. She's known as the Scarlet Witch. She has telekinesis, so she can move things with her mind. She teams up with an evil AI called Ultron, who's trying to wipe out the universe. When the Avengers manage to defeat Ultron, they learn that Loki's super mind control stuff actually houses another stone, the Mind Stone. So now we know where 4 of the stones are. You don't need to know much about Age of Ultron, but at the end of that, the Avengers make a super powerful android called Vision, and they implant the Mind Stone in his forehead. And then there's a movie called Ant-Man. That's Ant-Man and the Wasp. They have suits that can make themselves really big and really small, and that's all you need to know about them. And that's the end of Phase 2, 12 movies down, and we're heading to the end game. Alright, into Phase 3. So the UN is pretty pissed off that every time the Avengers try to save the world, they basically wipe out a city, or in some cases, a country. And so they decide that the Avengers need to be regulated. Tony Stark, totally on board with this plan. Captain America, not on board with this plan at all. He wants to be free to do the right thing all the time, doesn't want to be tied down by the rules, man. So, at the signing of these accords, the Sokovia Accords, a bomb goes off and kills the King of Wakanda. And some bad guys frame the Winter Soldier and make it look like he did it. So, the son of the King of Wakanda, T'Challa, who's now the heir to the throne, he's like, I'm totally going to kill the Winter Soldier. Captain America's like, you're not going to kill my boyfriend, man. And so, all of the Avengers split down the middle in the ensuing chaos. There's a massive battle at an airport in Berlin. But of course, because these are all the good guys, no one kills each other. So they all survive it. And that one's called Civil War. And the good news is at the end of that movie, Captain America's boyfriend gets unbrainwashed. Then we get a standalone movie in which Benedict Cumberbatch has a terrible accent. All you need to know about that is that Doctor Strange is a powerful sorcerer, his cape is magic, and he has a pendant around his neck that has the Time Stone in it. That's 5 stones. Then we have a standalone movie in which we meet Peter Parker. It's a really cute teen high school superhero movie. You should totally watch it, but you don't need it for these purposes. All you need to know is at the end of that movie, Tony Stark says, hey, do you want to officially be an Avenger? Then we get the best 2 movies back to back, Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther. So, in Thor Ragnarok, Odin finally dies, unleashing Hela, his firstborn, who comes for Thor and Loki. She destroys Thor's magic hammer and banishes them both to Sakaar, a trash planet ruled over by Jeff Goldblum. So, Thor reunites with the Hulk and Loki and makes a new friend, Valkyrie, and they manage to defeat Hela, but they destroy Asgard in the process, and so they have to flee with the last of their people as refugees on a spaceship. In Black Panther, the son of the King of Wakanda goes back to assume the throne, and the mantle of the new Black Panther defeats an enemy, and we learn more about the secretive nation, which is the wealthiest and most technically advanced, but has been hiding and pretending to be a third world country all along. And that brings us to Avengers Infinity War. Thanos is tired that his minions are so terrible at collecting these stones, he decides to go get them for himself. He's got a magic glove called a gauntlet, which will enable him to wield the power of the Infinity Stones. Turns out he's basically an eco-terrorist. He wants to eliminate half the universe so that the other half will thrive. So he runs around the universe picking up stones and killing people as he goes, and despite the Avengers' very best efforts, he manages to succeed. He snaps his fingers, and half of everyone dies. Steve loses his boyfriend all over again. Our faves all over the universe that have been fighting are melting away into ash, and it's really sad, and everybody cries. And right at the end, we see Nick Fury, who's dying on a street corner and holding a pager. What? A pager? So at the end of Infinity War, he drops this pager, and we see that he's been trying to hail a hero that we haven't seen since the 1990s, Captain Marvel! We did it, you guys! We're ready for Endgame!
You lost friends. You lost family. Today we have a chance to take it all back. We will. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
And now the more important question, why should you care? The truth is, I've never cracked a comic book, not once in my life. Like most things in my life, I came to the MCU through online communities and through fandom. And online, I discovered thousands of people writing beautiful novel-length works and creating amazing videos and digital art. And I became really fascinated that this transformative space was a predominantly female and often queer way of engaging with a set of stories that have traditionally been enjoyed mostly by men. And yet at the same time, what we're seeing all around us is a small subset of these men who are still trying to gatekeep, who are still trying to say that these stories aren't for our young women, or that these films shouldn't reflect a more diverse world that's all around us. Most recently, online trolls were downvoting the Captain Marvel film so aggressively online that Rotten Tomatoes had to disable its pre-release voting mechanism. It's the same online attacks that we've seen in relation to the new Ghostbusters movie, the new Star Wars films, and yes, Black Panther before it. And you know what? These guys aren't going to win. Captain Marvel's already smashing it at the box office. We're going to be victorious long term. But why does it matter right now? Why should we care right now? And what I want to say is that we need to stop dismissing these movies as unimportant, as something that's just for comic book nerds or just for dudes. Because our daughters and our sisters and our nieces and our friends, they deserve superheroes too. Thank you.